Hi guys, my name is Sabrina and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making another zodiac drawing and this time it's time for Taurus, so let's get on to it. So as I said, this one is for Taurus, and for all the lovely Taurus people out there especially, I hope you like this. So when I started this, I made a few drafts and I was trying to figure out where I was going with the drawing, because Taurus and like fur and the horns, and what was I exactly going to do? I wasn't quite sure, but I think the further I just played along with the drawing itself, the more it kind of all came together. So in the end, I made a girl with, of course, the two very well-known horns on her head. And it is a little weird, it kind of feels like demonish when I draw horns on people's heads. It isn't something I usually draw, but it's part of a Taurus, I suppose. So I kind of had to, and I went ahead and gave her a lot of hair because I kind of wanted her to have that as sort of her coat, and I suppose it's kind of like a Leo thing too, so I don't know how I'm going to take that challenge when that comes, but we'll see that when that moment arrives. But for this one, I really like this idea, and I actually went ahead and made like a half body up, and I wanted her to look like she was going out, like she was enjoying the nightlife and everything. So I made little orbs around her, maybe kind of like little flashes or something. That was kind of my idea of like camera flashes, and it kind of all brought it together. So I didn't really have to think much about that aspect. It kind of came to me, so to say. And what I did try to do as well is, of course, make sure that the hair had like the lines in there and everything, and that the line art was as perfect as possible. I gave her a lovely dress with a little bit of cleavage, I have to say, and I know that's not something I usually do when I give my characters clothes, but in this scenario I thought it was appropriate. And this is just a very cute Taurus girl enjoying the nightlife. So that was kind of my vision when I made the sketch and when I did the line art. And I'm super happy with how it looks. I think she's so adorable, so cute. She's got a cute face, and that's what I like. I think you have a lot of drawings where you're like, yeah, this is really a good one, and I think this one is one of those too. And I think every time that happens as well, is it kind of replaces previous favorites, where I'm like, no, I think this one's my favorite, or another one. But yeah, that's kind of how I felt about this drawing. I really like how it turned out, and she's just adorable, and yeah, that's what I went for here. So I started out by coloring the skin again, as I always do, and I think I had enough ink in this one. It's kind of like an ongoing battle. It's doing my head in at times because I can't really pull out the nib and everything to make sure it's properly filled, but sure, that is a problem for another day, I suppose. But done that and put the blush on her face, and I think putting the blush on her face is one of the most satisfying things. It just gives some extra color to the character and makes her look more alive, I suppose, even though it's like a cartoon character, like, still. And then I went in with the purple for basically the darkest area, so the shadowy areas. Even though they're quite subtle, they're not like really black and white, they're not very obvious, I suppose, when I do the shading, but I do like it. I quite like how this looks. And once that was done, I did the eyes, and I've used a marker that I've never used before in my drawings, and that is one of the fluorescent markers, and this one was the fluorescent orange one. I wasn't quite sure how bright it was going to be, because on the test pieces of paper, not all of them are necessarily bright, even though they're marked as fluorescent. And the green on the cap looks super bright, but then when I put it down on paper, it's not bright at all. It's kind of like quite a dark green actually, and that's a little weird. And I have that with a few of the markers, so I don't know if that's just my markers or if that's how that color is supposed to be. But this orange, oh my goodness, it did turn out quite bright, and I suppose you don't really see it here. Like, it does stand out from her face and against the hair as well, but you'll see it when I do the orbs later on, and when I have like the final shots, you can see how bright it is, especially compared to all the other colors that I'm using, because I'm going for quite a dark palette here, because again, she's enjoying the nightlife, so I don't want to have her in like super bright clothes and everything. So I think that is something that stands out, but in a good way, in my opinion. So once that was done, once the eyes were done, the eyebrows, I kind of finished those and put the highlights in. I continued on with the hair. And let me just say, there is a lot of hair on this character. When you work on a sketch, you don't really realize how much hair you put in until you need to go and color it and make it look good. And that was something where I was like, oh sugar, these are very big patches of hair that I need to color in. Now the first layer is not so bad. I don't necessarily have to worry about that being really perfect blending wise. I go over it with like darker colors and then try and blend those in together. So that wasn't the problem. It's just, it took a lot of time because it was, again, so much hair. And because it was so much, and it was kind of on a darker end as well, because you know, you can see she's got brown hair, I did end up putting in the colors off screen too, because if I do that on screen, I need to have a light shining on the paper so I can see where my black pencil hits the paper and I don't go over certain areas or outside of certain areas. And I want to make sure that it's done properly and quite neat. So when it comes to the darker shading with the pencils, I try and do that outside of the video so that I can make sure that it's done nicely and accurately and not very sloppy. So that's kind of what I did here as well. So I don't know if you'll see it. Sometimes it's very subtle, but yeah, I definitely noticed it myself when I put it in. I can just see the difference, and like I've shown that to you in a previous video as well, where you can clearly see the difference. Well, I can clearly see the difference where I worked with pencil and where I didn't yet work with pencil. So I kind of like that effect. It just gives some more depth to the hair and to the darker areas and to the light areas as well. So here I'm putting in the orbs, and what I've done for the orbs is I started out with the fluorescent color, but then I put in a darker color in the center as well. I did not want them to be one single color. I thought that would look a little weird. I think this looks a bit better, and I know they don't look like photography flashes or anything. They more look like orbs now, especially with like the white hint of light in there, which is fine. I still really like the look. I'm quite happy with them, and I really like how bright they are, and I'm super happy that I chose that color palette. Basically, it's dark with like browns and blues and then a bright orange in there, so the bright orange pulls everything up and I like it. I really enjoy looking at this piece. So for her dress, once the hair was on, actually I went on to the horns, and for the horns I wanted to use more like a stony kind of color, so it fits in the color scheme. It doesn't stand out, it looks natural, and the only thing that I think I should have done better is maybe put in a darker shade even, to make sure that you could really see the shadow in the middle and that it really looked like rounded. So it looks kind of flat at the moment to me, but yeah, that's hindsight, and hindsight is 2020, and I don't really want to adjust any artworks once I've put them up, and I just see them as learning curves. So for the next time, put in a darker area and that might improve things. So for the dress I went with the darkest blue that I have, and that is the B69, and that color is stratospheric blue. And I love how saturated that color is. It's dark, I like it. I did go over it with a gray as well, with a darker gray, because well, I wanted to show like shadow areas in it as well, and that was the only color that was darker than this blue. So I kind of had to. I know you can see the difference where it's like going to the gray and where it's actually blue, and I tried to blend them together, but you know, sometimes it doesn't work like that. So that was done, and then I wanted to give her a black shawl as well, going over her arms and around her back, and it kind of looks like a fancy little dress thing. And I of course gave her a clutch. So what's going out without a clutch, especially over here, I suppose. So that's what I've done, made it silver, and I've used my gel pen in like the straps on the center of the clutch to try and make it look as if there was like glittery bits on there. So that looks quite nice. So once that was done, I used the pencils to give it some more shadow areas as well. So I used black for the clutch to make sure that that had some extra depth in there, because I felt like it was quite flat and it needed something more. And then of course her skin. So I went over with a beautiful red pinkish color. I'm not quite sure what color it is, I'll have to check, but I really like that one and how that looks, and it just rosy cheeks. I love it. I love how it looks. And then I went over it with like a brown as well. So this was my drawing, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.